raising women's voices, one story at a time.
Welcome to the She Said Project podcast.
Well, hi, everybody. I could not be more excited to be in the podcast studio at the WCIA 3 News building where we've been recording the She Said Project podcast for the last year. I'm Jeanette Jerzyk, your host, National Director of the She Said Project. And that means that I don't think we've missed a single episode where this woman is sitting next to me, Carrie Rosso, co-founder of the original Things That She Said. Way back in the day.
Yeah. And not to make it competitive or anything, but I think you can't be more excited than I am for today's. You got to give me that.
I will acquiesce, actually, because today's guest is pretty darn special to you. But I will take some credit because I have been nurturing this relationship very recently and trying to keep her in the folds of That's What She Said because she's just too good to let go.
She is. Just jumping right into talking about
I'm here for
today.
it.
Sorry, but I just want every minute with her that I can. But she really is the sort of the poster child of what we strive to find in our speakers. She's kind, she's funny, she can make us, it's sort of the tagline, we'll belly laugh, we'll ugly cry. When you're with this person, you will likely do both multiple times, sometimes at the same time. You get mixed up. Am I crying? Am I laughing? I don't know. I'm laughing.
We use that phrase so often. I wonder how she feels about being the inspiration behind it. That's really darn special. So this woman requires a very special introduction because she's not from the Champaign-Urbana community. She was a unique introduction to the beginnings, the early days of That's What She Said. Of course, we're talking about Leslie Marinelli, who is joining us via video today from her beautiful home or office or space in the Atlanta, Georgia area. Right, Leslie? Am I right?
That is correct.
And I know it took a little bit of coercing to get you to say yes to joining us, but we are truly grateful. Everything Carrie said is true and more about how much you have meant to the long-standing journey and mission of That's What She Said. There's a reason we keep finding you and hunting you down and bringing you back. But I promise you it is all good. It is 100% good, and there's so much we can unpack with Leslie.
Well, just to give a little backstory of Leslie. So now she's out. She's trying to live an incognito life out in the world. She's a professional, whatever. But when I met her, we were sort of the OGs of the blogging world. And Leslie was the person, she was an editor and a hilarious comedy writer. She's who you wanted to write for. She's who you wanted to edit your words. She is that girl. And one of the funniest writers and editors. She could make a so-so like polite giggle line. She could turn it into a belly laugh line.
Guffaw, if you will.
Yes, but such a supporter of women writers and comedians and really pushing us to make jokes outside of our realm. So then, of course, she was someone that we wanted in the show, and it was shockingly this huge hit, and we've had her on multiple platforms connected to She Said. But it always makes me, because in my day life, I'm not exactly cracking She Said jokes as a principal. And I often think of Leslie like that. We're funny, dang it. We're funny. But we're out here in the world like being professionals, and we have, college tuitions to pay for. But I often think of her, and I look around at other women, and I'm like, are you funny too? Do you have a secret life? Like, were you?
A secret life.
Yeah, that we're all secretly telling haha jokes.
I always think of That's What She Said as an outlet for women who need to just get together and have a good laugh and maybe be a little inappropriate, just a little. Well, you two have gone far beyond the line, but that's not what today's about. Today's about, Leslie, we're just going to talk about her. Yeah. Let's talk to and with her. Hi, Leslie. Welcome.
Hi, you guys. I'm so happy to see you both.
I don't know how it's gone this long without you being on the podcast. I think I convinced myself that you had already done it. And then when we met again very recently for a new show, I was like, what do you mean you haven't been on the podcast? But here you are.
What's up with that, Leslie?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I can tell you, I have very severe podcast anxiety. And I was trying to tell Jeanette about this yesterday. I have fully convinced myself that I am not good live, that I am the kind of person who needs to be able to write it out, edit it for content, sleep on it, make it better, and then, control what comes out of my mouth by being able to write it and edit it first. And I've had a couple of really bad experiences, or experiences that I have convinced myself are bad. For instance, the organization that I have worked for for 10 years has a podcast. I have never been invited to be on it. Another example is back in the day when Carrie and I were like the OG mom bloggers. There was a guy who wanted to start a parenting podcast. And this was truly like 2013, 2014. This was before everyone and their mother had a podcast. And he put something out on Reddit saying, I need a mom who's funny, who can talk about all the parts of parenting, make me some recommendations. And multiple people, God love them, recommended me. And he reached out to me and I interviewed for it and we started practicing. And it was going to be this, parenting podcast with me being the experienced parent. And he ghosted me. It never came to fruition.
So you interviewed and didn't get the part.
Oh, we practiced? No, it was like a done deal. We practiced. I think like we were ready to go. We did a few different, and at some point he just stopped returning my emails. And I was like, hey, when are we doing the podcast? Cricket. So
no.
Between that and, never being invited to be on my company's podcast, I have in my mind that like I am not podcast worthy or acceptable, and that it's probably for everybody's safety that I do not do more live, unrehearsed, off-script productions.
Ladies and gentlemen, I give you for the first time ever, Leslie Marinelli, unscripted. Here we go.
Let's go.
Brace yourselves.
Hold on tight.
That's what he said.
Buckle up.
Sorry. This is what she brings out in me. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jeanette.
I think of Leslie as like your spirit animal. Like you are Carrie's muse. You are her spirit guide. You come up in conversation more than you even know. But here's what I want to know. For someone who has been so burned by or has convinced herself that she is unworthy of the podcast world, something in you took a chance, because you actually posted on our Instagram post recently saying, when am I going to get invited? And
no, actually, I'm going to stop you right there, sister.
Go ahead.
Because I do social media for a living. I'm a communications manager, and I commented on your post as a way to support you and help your algorithm. But if you read it again, what you will see is that I said, I really hope I get picked someday when I get my verbal diarrhea under control, or
and
something.
How I interpreted that was, let's do this. Yeah. So today's theme.
You have a gift. You do have a gift for that, because when you reached out to me and said, hey, I need somebody, and I said no, you said, I'm going to take that as a yes. And
I have to say, I was on that thread, and that is pretty accurate to how it happened.
Yeah, you are amazing, Jeanette. Are you in sales for your full-time job? Because I could not say no to you. And in fact, I've been so nervous all day. Tell me if I'm speaking too loudly. Am I okay?
You sound perfect.
My volume is about to skyrocket here. I was so nervous all day that the verbal diarrhea was actually about to transform into literal diarrhea, because I've been so like, oh God, this is not going to go in my favor. And then I will tell you that last night at my dinner table, when I was telling my husband and 23-year-old daughter the story about Jeanette reaching out to me and not letting me say no, and that I was saying no anyway, and that I was going to find a way to say, like, look, save yourselves. Do not do this to your podcast. My daughter said, fine, say no. It's not like I need anybody to look up to.
She's good. She's good. That is your daughter right there.
And I was like, damn.
What is her name?
Her name is Ava Marinelli, and she is spectacular.
Ava,
And-
you have my
Yes.
vote. I adore you. Thank you very
Yes.
much.
Yeah,
You go, girl.
If she is my muse, she is the one who keeps me on the straight and narrow. And also, and my husband too. My husband was like, "Do it! This is a great opportunity." And my biggest fear, we were starting to touch on the topic of living a double life, and having to keep our professional self separate from our real self. And so I work for an organization. I live in sort of a conservative area. I work for an organization that does incredible good for the community. And my biggest fear is that, somebody is going to associate my sense of humor with my organization, and that it's going to prevent my organization from being able to achieve what it should achieve. So I have to keep it separate. And it's really hard. And what you were saying, Carrie, of do people know that I'm funny? No, people don't know that I'm funny here. I'm not allowed to be funny. And also, thank you for thinking I'm funny. I think that's really sweet. But no, it's like a secret. It's a secret club, and I'm not allowed to showcase it. I have to have everything I write go by an editor who takes off every single one of my exclamation marks, because
That's too much.
Yep, I am not allowed to put any personality into anything that I do.
Well,
and it's silently killing me, basically.
Well, then I think you need to come on board here full time. But I do think that this is what, the hope for She Said is that it gives women this platform to step away from whatever the lane is that you're in, and when we're adulting, to just go back, just let it rip on the stage and just be you.
But take a chance, take a risk, tap into who you are, could be, and be proud of that side of you, because we all have all the sides. And Leslie, not only are you funny, but Carrie and I are president and vice president of the Leslie Marinelli fan club here. So your comedy is sensational. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to share with our friends and fans just how charming and funny you are, because we're going to listen to one of your several appearances on the That's What She Said stage. We'll be right back.
Okay.
So if you haven't figured it out by now, Leslie Marinelli has been in the She Said family for a very long time. She first appeared on stage in the second That's What She Said Champaign-Urbana show in 2014, and then came back in 2015. And then after a long hiatus, we actually invited her back to speak on the very first That's What She Said Atlanta stage. So we had so much material that we could pull from to share with you today. But today we're going to go back to an oldie but a goodie and enjoy her performance from the 2014 show. This is Leslie Marinelli with her story Hope Floats, which was the original title, but then it evolved into something else, and we'll talk about that. But for now, let's enjoy this charming, delightful, and very funny performance by Leslie.
So I recently overheard 2 of my 3 children playing a very rousing game of What's Grosser? Do you know this game? You try to gross out your opponent by pitting 2 disgusting scenarios against each other. For instance, what's grosser? Finding a used Band-Aid or someone else's hair in your food? Yeah, it's fun for road trips. So there I was, eavesdropping from the next room, which is usually when the most magical sibling conversations happen. And that's when I heard it. What's grosser? Creamed corn or mom? I was stunned. Creamed corn, That's the best you can do? Of course, I put an end to that conversation immediately. All right, you two, knock it off. Playtime's over. Whose turn is it to pluck Mama's neck hair? But really, the whole exchange got me thinking, OMG, am I gross? I am the person everyone in my house calls to determine if something is chocolate or poop. And I have been called sir by various retail clerks more times than I care to admit. But in terms of sheer grossness, I think the clincher was when my preteen daughter and I went bra shopping together in the same fitting room. She was there trying on these adorable little training bras that are like 2 floral Band-Aids and a piece of string. And I'm manually rolling each of mine up like a pair of tube socks. I was trying on these things that looked like canvas tote bags lined in memory foam. Yeah, those exist, memory foam, because clearly my breasts had forgotten where they belong on my torso. I'm telling you, she looked like a deer in the headlights. Only with me, they're more like floodlights. But truly, I mean, she could not look away. And then the questions started. When I grow up, will my nipples look like that? Is that from breastfeeding? Mom, how close is your hometown to 3 Mile Island? I mean, I can't blame her. It is frightening to see the effects of age and gravity and mileage. Especially when you're young and nubile and your nipples both face forward and in the same direction. Okay, fine. So when you add it all up, I guess I am pretty gross. But I'll have you know, I wasn't always this way. I haven't always had to dress like a traffic cone to get attention. I think the grossness started with motherhood. And no, I'm not just talking about the conception. You know. Let's start with the labor and delivery, shall we? Listen, if it weren't for that cone-headed creature trying to claw its way down my lady luge, I never would have voluntarily evacuated my bowels on a birthing table Yeah. You too? Yeah. In front of the man I love. And a room full of medical professionals. Yeah. Sadly, daily life has gotten no less disgusting over the past 14 years. Between battling head lice to verifying that my child did indeed pass the magnet she swallowed, to successfully removing chewed bubblegum from my preschooler's genitals. Yeah, I did that. This job is not for the faint of heart or stomach. So yeah, I am gross. But you know what? I own that grossness because I have earned it. But I'll let you in on a little secret. I have a special little coping mechanism. No, it's not booze. Anymore. I have this little game I play in my head where I pretend that motherhood is like a video game. Every time I complete another disgusting task, I feel like I have unlocked another level of adventure. What's that? Successfully extricated a Chewbacca-like hair clump from the kid's shower drain. 3 stars. Ringworm, rotavirus, ringworm and rotavirus. Pew, pew, sweet, divine. Teen boy sleepover with a DEFCON 2 toilet clog. Bitch, please. People, I own a 36-inch hand-powered commercial-grade steel toilet auger I affectionately call the Turdinator. Okay? You can't faze me. Yeah, let's face it. Real life motherhood doesn't have a lot of Pinterest-worthy moments. Some days you think they're never gonna end. Other days I can start to see the light at the end of this dark, foul-smelling tunnel. But I try not to dwell in the darkness because, this too shall pass. And based on the bounce I see in my mom's step, I can tell that the grandma level of this game called life is pretty frickin' awesome. Yeah. One day in the not-so-distant future, my daughter will be crying to me about her cracked and bleeding nipples while she's struggling to get my precious and perfect newborn grandchild to latch on. And God willing, I will kick my breasts out of the way and race to her side. Probably with a creamed corn casserole.
Oh, Leslie. Thank you so much for not dropping the microphone, even though that was such a mic drop moment. Thank you for that. But oh my God, when we say belly laugh, that's the one, man. I mean, that was one of the ones, but you brought it. You brought it that night. Thank you for being you and being funny and owning it. Maybe it's because it was in a different town where nobody knows you and you could remain anonymous, but.
Well, no. So back then, that was my job. That, was that 2014? Yeah, 2014. Yeah. So I was a stay-at-home mom who was a full-time blogger.
Let's talk about that. Let's take a time machine back.
Okay.
That was like the mommy blogger era, right?
Yes. And back then, I mean, Carrie and I were part of the vanguard of that. Like, we started at the same time, like in our peer group were people like the Pioneer Woman and Jenny Lawson and, Jen from People I Want to Punch in the Throat. Like, all of these people were in our group. They were our friends. They were our contemporaries. And so this was a brand new medium. I think Carrie and I probably started in 2008, 2009. Yeah. We met on Twitter. Carrie and I met on Twitter because we were both writing jokes as a way to stay sane as stay-at-home moms. And we found each other. I don't know how the gods put us all in one spot, and we found each other and formed this tight-knit group of other mom bloggers who, and by the way, none of us liked that term, mom bloggers. We considered ourselves writers, and that was what we were doing as a way to stay sane and be viewed as something other than invisible vessels for children and PTA donations. And so we formed this group and we started writing, and I got my first paid gig as a humorist was for $15 an article for an online women's magazine. And so I started doing that like once a week. And, we were networking. We started going to these conferences like Blog Her. And there was another one, I can't remember the name of it, that we would go to every year. And then, some of us started speaking and presenting at these conferences. And so we didn't have to be secret about it. We were out there. We were writing this stuff. Now, I do think the one thing that made me a little bit different than some of our other friends with That's What She Said is that for most of the speakers and presenters with That's What She Said, when they're telling their story, they're telling a really good story. They're telling a story of something cathartic in their life, or, when they got the call to join a convent, or when they decided to change their life or leave their husband or give up their,
virginity,
their work vice. And I never having had a filter or a lot of common sense, all three of the stories that I told on the stage of That's What She Said are the kinds of things that probably aren't spoken about in polite company, or that most people are proud to say. And I think that's what made me stand out as a mom blogger in 2010. Was that I was saying the kind of things that were surprising. Most people were posting pictures of their families in matching outfits, and I was posting pictures of my family in matching outfits at a trailer park, eating out of a can, and, their beanie weenies on their outfits. And, I felt like I never fit in, and the way to make the most of it was to just put it out there. And I think that I was just explaining this to a friend the other day, like, you can't make fun of me if I make fun of me first, right? And so I'm going to get out there and tell you about my embarrassing stories, because I don't want anybody else to get a laugh off of me. I get to make the laugh about the silly, embarrassing things that I do.
Well, but I think that what was one of the things that was so special about our peer group is we looked around at the matching pictures and the beach waves and things that are fabulous, good for you, but we didn't connect. We didn't feel like it told the whole story. So I do think it was sort of the beginning of the She Said thoughts, like, that's fabulous, but I want to hear real stories. I don't want to, and it doesn't have to be salacious. I want to hear the everyday, what happened at your house when, you answered the door and forgot that your robe wasn't on. Like, whatever, like, I want to know those just everyday silly things and real things, not polished up. And so there was that group of us that were writing, and I think that's why it connected with people, because they were like, we love your matching beach wave outfits, but we don't connect to that. We don't feel seen. And this was a way, I think that's why we kind of cringed when we were labeled the mommy bloggers, because we were trying to give value to women's stories of their everyday lives. So then that felt trite.
Well, Carrie, do you remember when you came down here to go to that conference? It was a
home
bloggers conference. Yes. And Carrie was coming down to Atlanta for it and said, I'm going to this conference. Why don't you come with me? And I'm like, I'm not a home blogger. And she said, who cares? It'll be fun. Let's go. And that may have been the first time we met in person, actually.
It was.
And so we went to this conference, and we were the only two humor bloggers there. And the other bloggers were people who were making, six figures with sponsorship deals for Moen faucets and
Because
things
they
like
were
that.
showcasing designer homes. Okay, got it.
Yes. And Carrie,
I think this
She
would be a
was
good
the-
time to tell us the name of Carrie's blog because it fits in perfectly. You went to a house blogging convention.
So mine was called House Talkin'. So it was about house stuff. And
Let's correct that.
I think I know where Leslie's going though.
House talking
Yeah, I talked about
or
everything.
house stalking.
One or the other.
I just had to make sure
one
that
and
was
the
clear.
same.
One and the
One and the same.
So Leslie and I are
we-
there, and we are we're looking to make you trying to one up belly laugh each other. And we did stand out because we were the only two humor writers there. And there was a house blogger there that just was I adored her. I thought she was great. Everything was beautiful. She was so nice. She was so sweet. We're all standing in a group, and I look across, and there she is, and I'm meeting her. So I'm thinking, let's be super witty. Let's really knock her socks off so she'll remember and want to collaborate with me. And before I knew it, all eyes were on me, and then I said to this whole group, well, aren't you just so cute? I could just pick you up and breastfeed you. Silence.
Yes, she did. Not a single, the only reason it was silence is because I was wheezing, doubled over, dying. But the rest of them
Were there looks of horror?
Well, they were
clutching
looking
their
to
pearls.
the queen. They were looking to
Yeah.
the queen, are we laughing? Are we not? Are we getting her?
Yeah.
Security, get her out of here. But thank goodness for Leslie in that moment and I knew right then, I'm going to write this. And I wound up writing that piece for Leslie maybe a year later after the shame had subsided a little.
Sure.
But that would have, had Leslie not been there, I would have literally crawled in a hole and died. But the fact, I felt 13 again because my buddy was laughing and I was like, that was funny, right? But, it would have been totally different had she not been there, and it was just silence and stares.
Yeah.
So those were the kind of situations that I think the people in that OG group, we lived for that stuff.
And I have to say, I bet there's not a single one of those, fancy home bloggers who has a comment that they carry around in their wallet for decades that was from one of their readers that said, I read your blog every day in the ICU while my daughter is recovering from surgery, and it's the only thing that brings me any joy. And thank you so much for what you do. We helped people.
Yes.
We helped people by telling those embarrassing stories, by making other people feel that they are not alone. Because, especially today in the digital age of social media, I think there's so much fatigue of, comparing yourself to others and feeling like we're not good enough because my house isn't that clean, or having to broadcast from your office because you can't even see the floor of your home office.
I don't know what you're talking about. So, Leslie, the humor you guys brought to the world was so important then, and that carries on in the work that we do, and that's what she said. And I want to dive a little deeper into the importance of being funny, and we're going to take a quick break.
Oh, okay.
So, Leslie, in one of the other performances that you shared on the That's What She Said stage, you opened with a quote by Carol Burnett. We give her credit for tragedy plus time equals comedy. And you are the queen of delivering tragedy plus time in the form of comedy. And in the 12 years that I've now been involved in That's What She Said and been producing and coaching women, funny becomes more and more and more important in every single show, especially in the times that we're living in. Everyone is facing something. Everyone is dealing with their own trauma. We certainly talk about things on the stage and give women space and permission to talk about really hard things that are not everyday conversation, like you said. But when we find a woman who's willing to talk about the embarrassing, the awkward, the ridiculous, because that's life too, and it brings levity to every single performance, those are the stories that I'm told again and again are the most memorable. They are the one people take home with them because
Yes.
people remember that feeling. There's a sense of relief when we laugh together, and so we no one will ever live up to Leslie Marinelli, but we are looking. We're very intentional about infusing every single show with humor, and I think you understand why, because it's so important.
So there's science behind that. I've done a lot of research about this when in my previous career, when I did some more public speaking and when I was an active humor writer and editor, I did research about why is humor so important, and people are more likely to remember things when there's emotion tied to it, and the two emotions are either fear or humor. And so the other research behind that is that people are more likely to trust you if you laugh with them. So I think that there's this bond that forms between your speakers and the audience when you laugh together or cry together. I said fear, but I think I meant sadness. It's probably all three. So any kind of strong emotion like that. And if you think about it, if you think about like your own memories of childhood, the things that we tend to remember from our childhood or even from high school are those times when we were really sad, or we belly laughed with someone, or we were terrified. And that it's kind of evolutionary. I think that you form connections with people that you wouldn't otherwise form when you're laughing together, and that keeps your tribe together, and that's how your little family or your community survived back in the day. So it's evolution. You got to laugh together. But I wanted to back up a second. We were talking earlier about Carrie changing people's lives, and the That's What She Said franchise, how it changes people's lives and connects the cast to each other and to audience members. And I wanted to thank you guys, because me performing on stage for That's What She Said in 2014 in Champaign was the first time I had ever done that, and I did not know I could do that. I most of my humor was always just in writing. I never really performed it. In fact, talk about like scarring experiences. When I was a senior in high school, I wanted to do one of two things. I either wanted to be a doctor, or I wanted to be on Saturday Night Live.
Yes.
Like every
Yes.
other, woman who thinks they're
Leslie,
funny.
I was also in my bedroom writing skits for SNL. Guilty.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I have watched that show since it
Every
aired in
episode.
1975, right? Yeah. So I was a senior in high school, and I was in all the plays, and in my senior play, I was cast as like an extra. I got to go on stage and die, and it wasn't like a good fun death. It was like I just had to be a dead body on stage, and it made me feel like, okay, maybe the whole acting, humor, comedy thing isn't for me. And so I went in a different direction. And I didn't know that I could make people laugh from, being on stage and telling a story until you gave me that opportunity in 2014.
And yet people ask all the time, is she a stand-up comic? Like, you took the stage with such a professional flair.
Well, and the gift so in my office, someone snapped a picture. Leslie and one of our fellow humor writers, Kim Bongiorno, another hilarious person, we were at a breakfast, and Leslie was telling a story that literally I was spitting my breakfast out, and Kim and I are laughing so hard, and I have this picture in my office, not only because exactly what Leslie was describing, the feeling I had of connection with those two sharing that laugh, but the gift that she gave to people to feel connected. And it was like, it really is a gift when you can share a laugh with someone. And when I look at that picture, like, it makes me all like warm and fuzzy. And when I'm not feeling super funny, I'm like, I am funny and I have funny friends and we really laugh hard.
Yeah.
You know, it's a nice
Yes.
thing in my head.
Oh, I'm
to-
going to ask a hard question now. Why
Okay.
are we so afraid to be real, to be funny? What are we afraid of? Are we going to offend somebody?
Funny is the hardest. When we put
Yeah.
shows together, hands down, funny is the hardest to find.
Why?
Leslie?
We want answers.
Well, I think like evolutionarily, is that the word? Evolution.
Yeah.
In terms of evolution,
We're
We
educating
all-
the masses. Here we go.
we all want to feel like we belong, right? We need to feel like we are a part of a group. And I think this is why high school is so hard for so many people, is that, like if you feel like you're a little bit different for whatever reason, it feels like the end of the world, right? And so I think that we don't want to be different by admitting like, oh, yeah, that happened to me once, or I'm trying not to give a lot of specifics. Like the story that I tell the second year in 2015,
Which anyone can go and find on our YouTube channel.
that's my favorite one. That's my favorite one. I think that one, because that was like a truly embarrassing story of something that I did in theory for all the right reasons. And it did not go well. And it took me, as I say in the story, it took me 16 years to come to terms with what I had been through. And I, turned it into a funny story. But like, those are the kind of things that we don't really talk about often with, at least, I mean, I do, but I think most people probably don't talk about that with their coworkers or in a board meeting or even at the dinner table. My God, I was just visiting with my favorite aunt and my mom last week, and we were laughing about a very inappropriate story. And I thought my mom and my aunt were going to die. They were so embarrassed. And I told my aunt that I was going to tell that story at her funeral, that I was going to write her eulogy and tell that story. And she was about to breathe into a paper bag. So, and I think it's one of the funniest stories there is. And so I just feel like we want to be accepted. We want people to like us. And we're afraid that if we're real and we admit our vulnerabilities, or, anything that makes us stand out in a bad way, that we won't be liked.
And I think
That's my guess.
to go back to the OG blog, you can tell this was a special time in my life. But to go back to that, like now I see young and upcoming, I think now we say
Influencers, yeah.
Yes.
And they're
On the 8 million platforms that we have.
think- I hope that they have a platform to say things beyond, look at my fabulous kitchen. Fabulous kitchens are fabulous. But I just hope we had, so one of the original bloggers from our time died recently. And I think that so many of the bloggers from that OG time, it was really, it stirred up a lot of feelings for us because that had been like home for us to be able to share these stories and be seen. And exactly what Leslie's saying, like,
I'm going to use the word community because we use that word so much. And that's what
Yeah.
she said, by creating a cohort that goes on the stage, that they feel a sense of belonging, that we're connecting the community through laughter, through tears, through basic human emotions. And I think it comes down to these very human needs. So yeah, let's tie it back to evolution. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. So Leslie, it truly is a fine line that we weave. There's the humor that you put on as a defensive mechanism to hide behind, and then there's the humor that you don't reveal because you have to put on the right face. So it's both sides, So when we can find a really good raw, vulnerable moment of just pure hilarity, I mean, it's a gift. Whenever we find stories like yours, we call them She Said Gold, and it's that for a reason. Now, you are also a very special guest on our show for a different reason that I want to share. I mentioned when we shared the 2014 story, it was called Hope Floats, but we got an opportunity to revise that story and even rename that story because to celebrate 10 years of That's What She Said in 2023, we published the very first collection of stories from the first 10 years of That's What She Said, called From the Stage to the Page. And we featured 16 of our storytellers, and they had an opportunity to rewrite the story and also go a little deeper and share a little bit of the story behind the story. And so Leslie was one of our 16 authors. And not only did we publish the story that you guys just heard, but Leslie joined us again to record it in a sound studio, because if you listen to the audiobook, every one of the stories is read to you by the original author. So Leslie, I mean, you are the blogger, you are the author. I look up to you and admire you so much, and you've published. But what was this experience like for you? I want to know.
Oh,
And
first
should
of
we
all,
do it again?
Yes, you absolutely should do it again, because performing it on stage is such a gift, because you can get a sense from the audience about which parts of the story landed and which ones didn't. Like, even watching it again tonight with you guys, I was thinking, oh, I would write that differently. Oh, I would cut that. I don't like that anymore. This, so being able to revise it 10 years later was such a great opportunity. And so we changed the title. We made the title better.
I'm going to call it out. Revenge of the World's Grossest Mom.
Yes, that is such a better title. But, I needed 10 years to develop it.
Sure.
But, I'm not real fast. It takes me a while. And there were some jokes that I rewrote. There were some things that I felt like just needed to improve. And so having the opportunity to do that. And then getting to record an audiobook, are you kidding me? That is one of my dreams, I'm a huge audiobook listener. I listen to probably 2 audiobooks a week because of my commute back and forth to work. And there is nothing like the gift of a great audiobook narrator. And when I hear a good audiobook reader, it just makes me, oh my God, I really want to do that in my next career. That is such a great gig. But it's hard because you're in a studio and you're only hearing yourself. You're not hearing people laugh. You're not seeing them react. So you don't know when to pause for reaction or how to hold the moment and milk it. You just have to barrel through. So I actually have not listened to my audiobook, my chapter
Now I'm
in
going
the book.
to clutch my pearls and be like, what?
Marinelli.
I haven't, because I'm afraid. I'm afraid.
You're afraid to hear how awesome you are? Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you what, I also, after each of my 3 performances with That's What She Said, I didn't watch them for a long time. It took me a long time to get the courage up, because I'm afraid I'm going to be too critical of myself. But last night when I watched all 3 to prepare for tonight, and that second one, I was like, oh my God, that is good.
It is so good.
I wish I could like that. But, I think humor writing is a muscle. And that was 2015. I was deep in the heart of writing every day. I wrote every day. And I had it down, and I was editing a lot of other really talented people. So when you're surrounded by it, it's like learning a foreign language by immersion. It came so much easier for me.
Even a year ago when we were preparing for the Atlanta show, you even suggested some more serious topics that you might want to dive into. And thank goodness we came back to the funny, because we had some work to do in that show. Like we were trying to send a message around a topic. The Atlanta show, as we've had many of our guests already on, was part of the National Summit on Period Poverty, which was a really powerful, awesome event. And it was great to be, immersed in that. And we learned so much about that industry and that organization. But you did find the funny. And again, so grateful for the chance to laugh amidst other stories that were so much harder to listen to.
Well, and if you can make period poverty, or in our case, Marinelli and I laughing about menopause, like, I think that it goes back to what she was saying. It's a lot easier to talk about if you're also laughing together. And I almost fell out of my seat when she was doing the Atlanta piece, and it was
Well,
So
podcasting
great,
is the new
but
blogging.
powerful. It
So
was-
I'm just saying, I'm connecting the dots right now.
That's so sweet of you, Carrie.
The Carrie Rosso, Leslie Marinelli show. Here it is. I want it.
Well, we were joking that we want to do skits because I think we both also like our physical humor, and I think neither of us have the vanity of do I look cute when I do that? Like we both love to really use our bodies and look a fool, and if it makes somebody laugh, then we're down.
And
with
I have
it.
the pictures to prove it. If we're lucky, we'll add some here on the video.
You had a great photographer those first 2 years when I was doing it because he caught amazing.
Daryl Holman
pictures.
continues to be our photographer at every That's What She Said show.
Oh my gosh,
He is
I loved those
so
photos.
incredibly good at what he does.
Yeah.
And he has been at every
really,
show.
yeah.
The mic drop
He
photo.
captured-
he captured that moment, and
Yes.
that it might be one of my just favorite all-time photos because you're right back the second you see
We
that.
are. Ladies, we got like 30 seconds.
No.
I know. Well, we
This
can
went
keep
by
talking.
so fast. I
And-
feel like there's so many other things that we need to talk about.
So
Well, you
you're
know, you have
saying-
2 more stories that we can reshare on the podcast when you come out of hiding.
Yeah, now that you're over your podcast fear, right?
You guys make it easy because you're so lovely and you're just so warm
promised.
and kind.
And
Thank
Leslie,
you.
the theme of today was be careful what you wish for, because Leslie and I were texting last night and she's like, did I really ask to be on it? And I said, you put it out there in the
Hey,
universe and here
I'm
it
like,
is.
work with Leslie again.
Well, we are
it
grateful
happening?
that this happened today. So Leslie, thank you for making some time and saying yes once again.
I
It's
love
a
you
gift to
guys.
share you and your beautiful gift for humor and words with our audience here at the She Said Project podcast. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for breathing so much life into women's stories. And I love you guys. Bye.
Thank you, sweetheart.
Love you, Marinelli.
Thank you for listening to the She Said Project podcast. All materials contained in the podcast are the exclusive property of the She Said Project and That's What She Said LLC. For more information on our live shows, go to shesaidproject.com.